Hi, and welcome back to my review of the new Jedi Order series in its entirety. We're going to talk about another duology called Agents of Chaos. This was written by James Luceno, and the two books were Hero's Trial and Jedi Eclipse, in that order. Now in this one, right now, the Republic is losing to the Vong. I mean, big time. And they don't know what to do. The Republic is in disarray right now. And partly that's because of Borsphilia, but also remember, Vicky Shesh is also there, the senator, trying to stir up trouble and create a stalemate within the government. So to kind of slow everything down. So things are just in disarray here. A new villain organization forms. It's the Peace Brigade. And the Peace Brigade are just basically turncoats. You know, they see where the wind's blowing. It's blowing in the Vong's favor, so we may as well go ahead and help the Vong. What you need, Vong, we'll help you out. Now, they're called the Peace Brigade because they're trying to establish peace between Vong and humanity. No, they just want to get out of the Vong's way and escape their wrath. That's the real reason. It's a neat idea, and you're going to see a lot of them from this point on. Now, Nominar, meanwhile, his status isn't that good with Lord Shimra, who kind of is a ruler over the entire Vong invasion fleet. And so he's trying to get back into their good graces. He's kind of got a little egg on his face since the last defeat back during Vector Prime, and he just hasn't been batting 1,000 now, and he's not all that like he was pretending him or making himself out to be. So what they do is they come up with a new plan. They know that the Jedi are their #1 enemy. Funny how Finn from the invasion storyline is never mentioned. Anyway, they know that the Jedi are a big threat, bigger than what they anticipated. So they send Ilan, who's a Vong priestess, and she has a biochemical weapon, some kind of spore she's going to just blow out and start killing Jedi with it. She allows herself to be captured. She brings her familiar with her. It's a strange avian species we haven't seen before, and his name is Vigeri. I don't know. I never listened to the audiobooks, but I always called him Vigeri. And he is an interesting character. We don't know much about him except that, you know, he's with Ilan. Now, later on, or meanwhile, I should say, Chewbacca'S funeral happens. And, of course, it's sad. You have the funeral that goes by. After that, Han meets up with an old pal, Roa, and they go to investigate this Peace Brigade and see what they're all about, see what their intentions are. They don't seem like good people. And they go up to something called the Jubilee Wheel. Now, it was hinted in I can't remember which source book, that this might be the same wheel that you saw in the Marvel comic book series, just called the Wheel, but later on that's not the case. We can see later on in stories that they are separate wheels they're talking about here. Well, anyway, man, Han has no luck, right? Because the Vong are actually attacking the Jubilee Wheel. They have this big giant slug or some space, you know, just Vong animal on there that's kind of just destroying the space station. And of course, during all this panic, they're running around. Han, you think, comes across Boba Fett. They kind of look at each other real quick, and then he disappears and goes on his own way. I thought it was nice because you're not sure if it's Boba Fett or just someone in Mando armor or anything. I don't think it turns out to be Boba Fett, but I remember that was a comical moment there. There's like, what? You? Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? But I don't think it's Boba Fett. Anyway, in this one, though, Han does get to meet up with another character we're going to hear a lot about, called Ryan, or Rin. I call him Ryan, though. He's a Droma, and you know, he's a refugee too, and his people have been lost and broken up. So Han's kind of, you know, befriended him, and you know, he suffered a lot. Han suffered a lot. So they become friends, and he becomes the new co-pilot. In fact, if you're thinking, wait a minute, Matt, where's Lumpy? You know, Lumporo, Chewbacca's son, isn't he going to come help out? Yes. In fact, at Chewie's funeral, Lumparo offers his services, like, you know, hey, I'll replace my dad. And I thought, this is going to be really awesome. We're going to finally see some Lumparo. This is awesome. But Han goes, no, your dad's debt is paid, or I kind of want to just go alone. He's not feeling having another Wookiee companion. When you think about that, it's like, yeah, because no one can replace Chewbacca, and that's kind of unfair to bring the kid in and go, you're nothing like your dad. You know that? I mean, well, I don't know. I was going to say Han wouldn't say that, but look what he said to Anakin. Now, at this point, Han still isn't talking to Anakin that much. He's just kind of been estranged. I think he kind of knows he did something wrong, but Han just doesn't know how to apologize. It's kind of awkward, and he's still can't get out of his mind, even though I think at this point he basically knows it's not Anakin's fault, but he just feels you left him. It's still very powerful and really shakes Han up. And a lot of people are like, man, I hate this. Han's basically out of the storyline for the longest. Yeah, there's not much spoken about him in the last few books until now. That's because he's been a fuddy-duddy. He's just been sitting there moping along. But hey, one of his best friends for years has passed away, and he's just in misery right now. He's trying to get out of this funk. And this is where his road to recovery begins with this duology by James Luceno. But anyway, meanwhile, Leia is convincing, because remember, she's out there trying to negotiate with other places to help out, and of course she goes to the Hapens, right? The Hapens, according to Dave Wolverton's storyline, they have this huge army. They helped out the Republic before. That's how, you know, she almost had an arranged marriage with the prince there, right? But now she goes to him again and says, hey, look, we need your help. We have a big battle. The Vong are dangerous. And they go, okay, sure. And so they go and they decide to help. Now there is Princess Shoulder's mother, I think her name is Tachum, I can't remember now, but anyway, she's kind of against. It's like, oh, we shouldn't do this. Thankfully no one's listening to her, and the Hapens agree to join this big battle that the Republic have set up against the Vong. Now, meanwhile, Jason and Anakin travel out to Centerpoint Station. I love how they're going back to some of the, they don't just, Bantam, when they were doing, you know, connections between their books, they go, hey, remember when this happened? Okay, let's move on with the storyline. You just had to mention the previous adventure and then move on. But now Delroy's like saying, no, we have this super weapon called Centerpoint Station, right? It can wipe out entire sections. Let's use it, right? It can shoot anywhere in the galaxy, right? We had this big battle, you know, with Drakken Solo over it during the Quadrillion trilogy. Maybe we ought to go back to that super weapon, huh? It's a smart idea. If it exists in the galaxy, use it again. It's one of my gripes with Harry Potter. They had all these big things, right? That, you know, why didn't Dumbledore just grab the Philosopher's Stone and fight, you know, just kill or get the little time thing that Hermione was using to travel through time? Why didn't Dumbledore just use that to kill off Voldemort, or change Voldemort for the better from the very beginning? I don't know. I don't know. She has so many magical, mystical items that if you think about the story, if you think too much in the storyline, it doesn't make sense. Well, here you're thinking, well, yeah, guys, you got all these super weapons laying around. Why don't you use one? They go, yeah, let's go to Centerpoint Station. Now, Drakken Solo is back, baby. He served his time in jail. He's a reformed man, or so we think. It's a little awkward moment with the kids, right? Because last time they saw him, he wasn't really the nicest guy. Their uncle wasn't. But, you know, he's kind of laughing it off. He's a different man. He's trying to make his way, and he just wants to fight for Corellia. That's all he cares about. And so Drakken Solo, kind of the rogue on the bad end, what I mean by that, and he's with them talking about the use of Centerpoint Station. He's all for it. We should use this powerful weapon. Remember, he wanted it so he could control the galaxy. In fact, he can't now because as a child, it imprinted upon, if you remember the storyline, it imprinted upon Anakin. So Anakin's the only one who can fire it right now. Well, Drakken Solo knows that, so he's trying to convince Anakin this should be used as a weapon. And Anakin agrees. At first, like, yeah, this needs to be used. This could be our weapon to take out the Vong right here and there, and they'd flee. Once they see we got Centerpoint Station, they ain't coming back. They can't defeat us. And Jason, to his credit, is like, no, I don't think we should be using that. We're wiping out entire civilizations. Of course, the Vong are evil, Jason. You should think it like that. But he kind of takes, I mean, even though he calls Luke and his Jedi Order hypocritical, he kind of takes some of the same positions that Luke has. But he is talking about the Jedi. They're all about life, not just death and revenge. And so he and Anakin have this philosophical debate, and Jason wins. He wins. Anakin relents and goes, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this, because the battles raging right now are about to start, and they know they have the coordinates set. And he's got his finger on the trigger and goes, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Well, Drakken Solo is just like, no! And he grabs Anakin and fires the button. Now, he's grabbing Anakin, kind of forcing, you know, it's like almost like you're pushing someone's foot down on the pedal of the car when they're driving. Don't do that, by the way. But anyway, he does it, and it misfires slightly. It's slightly off. How bad off? Well, it does destroy half of the Vong fleet, and they immediately hightail. They're like, what was that? And they leave. Unfortunately, it destroys most of the Hapen fleet, too. It's devastating. Losses in a second after one fire. And of course, Anakin is upset. Thrakken's like, whoopsie, you know, and they leave Centerpoint Station. But Anakin's just devastated, and Jason's disappointed too, but he knows Anakin didn't mean to do it. And so this is more, you know, pressure and just depression that's being built up on Anakin right now. This kid's dealing with a lot. His dad won't talk to him, and now kind of his fault, but not really, but someone has forced his hand to misfire the weapon, which he could have fired. He even tells Jason, I can fire and directly clean out the Vong without hitting any of the other you know, ships. I can do that. But when it misfires, you know, it kills off most of the Hapan fleet. So what's going on with the Hutts right now? You know they made a deal with the Vong, and it's, hey, you know what? Don't come attack, you know, leave Hutt space alone, and we'll give you anything you want. We'll give you all the dirt we have. And so they're doing that, but also they're double agents. They're selling the Vong information to the Republic. However, the Vong know this, and so they're feeding misinformation to the Hutts to kind of misdirect the Republic. So there's a little, you know, double agent game going on there, which I really enjoy. It shows the Vong aren't stupid. Even though the Hutts are kind of crafty, the Vong have already figured them out because they've had, you know, spies here for years, and they know what Hutts are like. So, overall, what I think about this book series, excellent. Excellent, excellent. It's James Luceno. You're going to love it. You love James Luceno. One thing I didn't realize, I knew a little bit about this, but I didn't realize this, is that in real life, James Luceno and Brian Daley were best friends, were friends. That is why this is the only book series that I recall. Well, A.C. Crispin's Han Solo trilogy did a little bit too, but this is one of the few books that bring characters from Brian Daley's book series. It's very rare that any of those old books, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which I don't think anyone has referenced in any other EU book, the Lando Calrissian trilogy and Han Solo trilogy by Brian Daley, those rarely, if ever, get mentioned in the EU. Yet in this book, Roa is a character from Han Solo's Revenge. So it really is an old friend of Han Solo's. Roa was, and that was really cool. And I remember that name. One I missed, I didn't catch it, but he was also, later on I found out that Big Bungie, who they go to see on Jubilee Wheel, he was also a character from Brian Daley's series. And the last one, which I knew, but it isn't an official appearance, at least we don't know that, is while he's clearing out refugees, he looks at a robot and goes, "Bullocks?" And if you don't know, Bullocks and Blue Max, go back and watch my review, are excellent droid companions in the Han Solo trilogy. I love them so much. And the droid looks at him, "I'm sorry, sir, I don't know what you mean," and walks away. And it looks just like Bullocks, you know. And I was like, oh, please bring Bullocks and Blue Max back. Please. That would be the best thing in the world. But it's just a little wink and homage. And all of that were just dedications to Brian Daley, James Luceno's friend. Again, I had no idea they were friends until I started doing this study of this series. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense then. That's why they had all these cool references to Brian Daley's Han Solo trilogy. But James Luceno does a great job moving the story along to the next person who's going to take the ball and absolutely run with it. I'll talk about that next time in another video.